Right, I've just taken the top off Charlie's cage, taken out his flying saucer and put the Wodent wheel in, which fits perfectly, just like the old wheel did. I've only just put it on top of the substrate. I'd probably put the base on the bottom and just slope the substrate up away from it. That's what I did with the other wheel, so that it's more stable, or try it from the top. But I'm just trying it for size, and it looks fine. So now I'm going to try, see what the Wobust wheel looks like. And see if it actually fits. Now the base doesn't quite fit without moving the stone that the water bottle is on. It's quite wide is the base, so that must be at least half the width of the cage, which just says 80 centimetres long, although it's probably slightly less than 80 centimetres at the bottom because it curves in, more like 70. So I would have to shift something along if I was going to fit that in with it on the base. On the other hand, I could hang it upside down. The depth is quite, so I'll see how far back I can get it. I could actually get it back that far. It's a funny angle because it's propped up on the stone, which is not that much deeper than the old wheel. You'd still have a little bit of space between there and there, and if it was upright, it does fit, just. And I'd only have to shift that over about ½ an inch, and I could probably, if I put the base underneath, probably move the stone back over the top. So it does fit in an 80 by 50 cage, even with a fairly low cage like ours, which is, it's supposed to be 38 centimetres high, but inside there's only about 36 centimetres. So I actually quite like that one now it's in. It looks like a good sturdy wheel. It's just a bit bulky. Anyway, that's just to show you what they look like. And a Wodent wheel would fit in any cage, I reckon. The 27 centimetre. The Wobust one would probably fit in any cage, but it is does take up a bit of space. On the other hand, it doesn't take up quite as much floor space as the flying saucer, so that's a good thing. So that is the Wobust wheel. In fact, I think that actually looks better than the other one when it's in. It's just a bit of a tight squeeze. Only because I've got this big 6-inch stone here to put the water bottle on to keep his nails short. And it would go underneath that easily. In fact, the stone would hold down the base. And so it could go from the top. So I think I do prefer that one. I just wish it was slightly less deep, like 9 centimetres instead of 13. So there we go. And just put the Wodent one back to show you again. And that looks okay too. Fits in easier. Somehow it does look small when you're used to a 29 centimetre wheel. Apparently these are good for dwarf hamsters as well. You can run in them quite easily because they're light, even though they only need a 20 centimetre one. So if you're looking for one that's going to last for a long time, and you might have a Syrian or a dwarf, then this would do either, unless you end up with a great big Syrian like ours. Right, so that's it in the cage. It's difficult to compare when they're different colours as well, because I think the blue actually looks better than the green one, but that does seem more in proportion somehow. I'll just do another shot with the Wobust wheel, and stand back a bit and put it in proportion. I've just slotted it underneath the stone now. That seems to be a lot better, and it goes a bit further back. There we are. It's big, but it looks okay. It's not quite as in proportion with the cage as the other one. It dominates it a bit, but actually it fits in nicely. And he just has a little bit less space in front of it, and he doesn't have that much floor space in this cage anyway, which is why I'm wanting to upgrade his cage, because I've got so much big stuff in it. But that's what happens when you end up with a big Syrian. You need rat-sized stuff, and therefore I think I need a 100 centimetre cage, not an 80 centimetre one, and I'm working on that. But he is happy as pie in this cage, and they don't like change very much, so I'd have to do it quite carefully. His house is so big, he's got room for his toilet and huge nest and little hoards in there, and he spends most of his time in there. He comes out at night, he's got it's this little corner over here, which is under a lava ledge normally, so he sits under the lava ledge. He likes jumping out of his little Sputnik onto the top of this house and grabbing things like with K-Bob. I've just taken all that off now so you can't see it. This bendy stick bridges his tunnel into his house, which makes it nice and dark, and he can climb over the top to get onto the roof. In this little bit here between the stick and underneath the Sputnik. And he loves it down there. He looks all quite excited when he crawls into that bit. And he can climb up here to get in and out of the Sputnik and through a tube and onto the roof. So he seems quite happy in this cage. I just think it could be more empty floor space for digging. It's a bit full. Anyway, it's going to be even fuller if I put a big wheel like that in. But wheels do take up quite a bit of space. I just put the... I actually don't think that looks as bad as I thought it would. And I'm inclined to want to keep that one. Rather than get something that perhaps isn't quite big enough. But if Wodent Wheel are listening, please can you make one that's an in-between size. I know 27 and 30, there's not a huge amount in it, it's the depth really. 29 centimetres and 9 centimetre depth. And then make this one 32 and leave it the same depth. And then that would be about right. And you've got 3 different sizes as well as the smaller one. I'm just going to pop the flying saucer back in because that's what he's been using while we've been sorting his new wheel out. It's always the way, isn't it? I mean, the wheel just went one night with a big crash. The bearings broke and it was still working okay, but it was a bit dangerous because it was leaning forwards. I thought it might have got his feet trapped under it if he wasn't careful, so I had to take it out. Sent off for another one, which was going to take 5 days, so I sent for an emergency wheel, which took about 3 days, and luckily I got the flying saucer next day delivery from Amazon, so I popped that in while I sorted out which wheel. The first Wonderland wheel came was damaged and had to go back, so there was another 5 days for another one. Meanwhile the Wobust wheel came, but I wasn't sure about the pin, so I left the flying saucer in, ordered a Wodent wheel, and then I also ordered a silent spinner because I thought I might as well just compare them at the same time. And I've always wanted one of those, but I wasn't impressed with it. It just doesn't spin very well, the 12-inch one. Not these days anyway, it might have done at one time. So I've sent that one back. The new Carly Wonderland one's come and it's not damaged, but it has got a few rough edges and needs some sanding. So I'm in the process of that. And I have to send either the Wodent or the Wobust back because I can't afford to keep them all. But I'm really impressed with this flying saucer. I don't think it's good for a permanent thing. But it's very easy to take on and off. You just lift the top off and it leaves the base there and it slots back on. It seems quite stable. Takes up slightly more floor space than the wheel. It fits in without rubbing against the edge of the cage. He's been in it, so I've never seen him run in it because he only does it after dark. But he has been in it because he keeps leaving bits of substrate behind. And he didn't seem to know quite what to do with it the first time. But I think a wheel is better for a permanent use, but some people might disagree. It might be fine for permanent use. So I just put the cage back together and leave Charlie in peace. Well, I decided to keep the Wobust wheel and keep the Carly Wonderland one as a spare. Charlie absolutely loves the Wobust wheel. I think he runs a lot better in it than in the Carly Wonderland. It does fit in the cage. You can't see it very well from the front here, there's so much other stuff. And I did have to slope the substrate up a little bit towards the back to keep it deep at the front. And I'm really pleased with it, actually. He loves it. He likes to stand on this little branch here and jump in through that hole, which he thinks is great fun. I did have it on the base of the cage originally, but it didn't run very well like that and kept juddering. So I tied it to the top, put the stand through the top about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 bars back, but that's 7mm bar spacing, so it'd be less than that for 1cm bar spacing. So that it cleared the base at the bottom, which slopes in, and it works much better like that and it runs really well. My first attempt at cable tying it was not very good because I had far too many cable ties all round, and that somehow made it sit at a funny angle. It was holding the stand down too hard,
So my second attempt has worked really well, and I've just got 3 cable ties in strategic places, one here, one there, and one just under here that's clipped off. And it's very stable. It only needs the 3 cable ties. It's very stable, it runs really well, and he's very happy with it, and so am I. So that's the Wobust wheel. Just need a bigger cage now.